Arsenal has an Eberechi Eze problem, and every week that passes makes it worse. 6 months ago, this looked like a fairy tale, with the £67.5 million signing completing his boyhood dream by returning to the club that released him at 13 and claiming the number 10 shirt after hijacking Tottenham's transfer in the final hours. Arsenal fans sang his name in August, celebrating the emotional homecoming that sent their rivals into meltdown. Now he's getting hooked at halftime while pundits call him a passenger. His manager freezes him out of the starting lineup, and those same fans who welcomed him home are questioning whether he's good enough to wear the shirt. This is how football's most emotional homecoming turned into one of the Premier League's most awkward misfits. The dream. Before we can understand this disaster, we need to understand what Eberechi Eze was at Crystal Palace. Palace didn't just have a good player. They had the man who made everything happen. The creative force who transformed a mid-table side into FA Cup champions while putting up 12 goals and 12 assists in the 2024-25 season. That productivity marked his best Premier League campaign, and he followed it with a run of scoring in 6 straight games heading into the FA Cup final. May 17, 2025 changed everything for him and Crystal Palace. 119 years of history, 0 major trophies, and Manchester City standing in the way of Palace's first silverware. Eze scored the winner in the 16th minute, and that 1-0 victory gave Palace their first major trophy in the club's entire existence. The boy from Greenwich had delivered immortality to South London. But even while lifting that trophy and watching Selhurst Park prepare to build him a statue, his eyes were looking north toward Arsenal and the home he'd been dreaming about since the academy rejected him at age 13. Years later, he told Ian Wright exactly what that rejection meant to him, saying, "I thought about coming back from the moment I understood other clubs and what it meant to become a pro. I've always thought Arsenal is where it's at. That's what I want to achieve, what I want to get to." The transfer window opened in August 2025, and Tottenham believed they had secured their man. Wednesday, August 20th, arrived with Tottenham holding agreements from both Crystal Palace and Eze himself, with the medical scheduled and propaganda videos ready to launch. Kai Havertz suffered a knee injury that same week, which gave Arteta the justification he needed to make his move. When word reached Eze that Arsenal might actually be interested, he picked up the phone and called Arteta personally, just to confirm the door was really open. Arteta summoned an emergency board meeting, and within 48 hours, Arsenal had hijacked the entire deal for £67.5 million on a 4-year contract. The number 10 shirt came with the transfer, the same number Dennis Bergkamp, Mesut Ozil, Robin van Persie, Jack Wilshere, and Emile Smith-Rowe had worn before him. Arsenal completed everything on August 23, 2025, just before their home match against Leeds, with Arteta later calling it one of the fastest and one of the most probably unexpected deals the club had ever pulled off. Arsenal fans were ecstatic, singing "Let It All Work Out" for the prodigal son who'd gone from academy reject to FA Cup hero, and was finally coming home to prove everyone wrong. 6 months have passed since that day. The reality check. The numbers tell a brutal story about what Eze has actually delivered at Arsenal. His Premier League record as of February 13th, 2026 shows 21 appearances with only 8 starts, 4 goals, 2 assists, and 1,132 minutes played. Those statistics look terrible for any £67.5 million signing wearing the number 10, but the raw numbers only scratch the surface of the real problem. November was the last time Eze scored or assisted in the league, with his North London derby hat-trick against Tottenham, marking his final goal contribution in the Premier League. 16 games have passed since then without a single goal, and while he managed 1 assist across all competitions, 15 Premier League matches have come and gone without him contributing anything. The hat-trick masked all his struggles and made people believe the dream was actually working. But since that performance against Spurs, he's been completely invisible. February 12th, 2026, brought everything crashing down when Brentford came to the Emirates. Arteta gave him a rare start, his first Premier League start in almost 2 months, which should have been his chance to silence the doubters and prove he deserved more minutes. What followed was a masterclass in wasting opportunities, with 17 touches in 45 minutes, making him joint second fewest of any Arsenal player, while completing just 9 passes, with 0 shots, 0 dribbles, 0 key passes, and 3 lost possessions. Arteta had seen enough by halftime and pulled him for Martin Odegaard, the real number 10 who immediately helped Arsenal shift into another gear and salvage a 1-1 draw. The manager tried being diplomatic after the match, saying, "Because with the way that they were pressing, I think we needed another kind of profile to generate many more problems for them around those areas," which translated to Eze simply wasn't good enough. He continued with, "It's not easy when you move to a new club. It's always like this, and when you play against a team that is like this, the ball is a lot of times not on the floor, and you have to be constantly breaking the play, and do that, especially for attacking and creative players. It's more difficult," which everyone understood meant the system doesn't suit him. Arteta's politeness didn't stop the pundits from tearing into the performance. Peter Crouch went straight for the throat on TNT Sports, saying,
"I believe he's not started in the last 9 or something like that, so he's got to start today. You know, you think, right, go and impress." Unfortunately, just felt off the boil, couldn't get on the ball first half. I mean, it was difficult for Arsenal in general, but for him, I felt for him, couldn't get on the ball, and then he doesn't give you that, what Odegaard gives you in pressing, and he doesn't affect it when he hasn't got the ball. So it was a bit of a passenger, if I'm being perfectly honest. I totally understand. We called it kind of half an hour in, he was going to come off, because for some reason, it feels at the moment he doesn't fancy him.
Crouch labeled him a passenger and wasn't finished, adding,
"That's going to damage his England chance."
Jermain Defoe piled on with his own criticism, stating, "Eze was not good enough. It feels like he's playing with the handbrake on. I understand he hasn't played many games and might not be fully match fit, but you still expect a little bit more. Playing with the handbrake on, playing scared, not good enough." These weren't random hot takes from social media trolls, but former Premier League strikers who understand exactly what performing at the highest level requires, and they're watching him fail to deliver it week after week. Arsenal fans have started losing patience as well, with social media reactions after the Brentford match turning brutal. One fan wrote, "Eze off for Odegaard. Eze really can't complain about his lack of minutes. Atrocious." While another said, "People have wanted Odegaard dropped for Eze. Well, guess what? Eze isn't a man trying to fight for his place. He's been non-existent when he starts. Very, very poor." The most cutting comment came from a supporter who said, "For someone who claims to love Arsenal, Eze plays way too laid back, like he doesn't care. Bro, do you want to win things here? Play with some intensity." That last comment cuts deep because it raises the biggest question surrounding this entire situation about whether Eberechi Eze actually wants this badly enough. Why it's not working. A player who looked unstoppable at Crystal Palace now looks like a £67 million mistake, and the reasons come down to system, position, and expectations. Mikel Arteta doesn't know where to play him, which creates the most obvious problem in this whole mess. Arsenal signed him as an attacking midfielder or left winger since that's what he played at Palace and where he thrived. But Arteta has experimented with him in central midfield multiple times despite it clearly not working. Fans and pundits agree the midfield experiment has been a disaster, with Arsenal supporters begging Arteta to stop after the Brentford match. Comments like, "Eze in midfield. Yeah, we have to bin that experiment. That chapter is over." And playing Eze in center mid is such a waste of his talent, and it's clearly bad for Arsenal from both a defensive and offensive perspective, flooded social media immediately after the game. Playing him on the wing hasn't worked either since he gets hooked at halftime whenever Arteta tries it, with his last league start on the left wing coming against Aston Villa in early December, before getting substituted at halftime after failing to track Matty Cash for a goal. The pattern repeats itself over and over, with Eze getting a chance, underperforming, getting pulled, and going back to the bench. 3 Premier League starts since the beginning of December, with 2 of those 3 seeing him come off at halftime or before, and at one point in January, he sat as an unused substitute for 4 straight Premier League games. Martin Caillon, the former Arsenal defender, tried explaining what's really happening by saying,
Say he doesn't fancy him. I think it's more a case of the player doesn't quite understand the structure in the same way Odegaard does. So Odegaard knows exactly where to be when the opposition have the ball, and then picking up those little spaces and the little passes and building play is something that Odegaard does well, and Eze hasn't quite picked that up yet. It'll come in time, I'm sure it will, and there'll be moments, and that's where now he has to respond. He has to respond. He can't be hurt by what happened.
That against high defensive lines they could exploit on the counter. Chaos suited him perfectly. Arsenal turned him into just another cog in Mikel Arteta's machine, which demands precision, positioning, pressing, without the ball, and understanding exactly where to be in every phase of play. Teams sit deep against Arsenal every single game, daring them to break down low blocks, which means the chaos is gone, the space is gone, and the freedom is gone. Peter Crouch nailed it when he said, "He doesn't give you what Odegaard gives you in pressing, and he doesn't affect it when he hasn't got the ball. Because in Arteta's system, you either affect the game without the ball or you don't play." Eze's entire career was built on being the difference maker with the ball, not the workhorse without it. The Grealish parallel. We've seen this story before with Jack Grealish, who moved from Aston Villa to Manchester City for £100 million in summer 2021, going from big fish in a small pond to another cog in Pep Guardiola's machine. His first season was rough, but Grealish eventually adapted by sacrificing the flashy dribbles for tactical discipline and positional intelligence. The question is whether Eberechi Eze can do the same thing, because right now, the comparisons feel unavoidable. Here's the critical difference, though. Grealish was willing to sacrifice everything by buying into Guardiola's vision and accepting the reduced role. Does Eze have that same hunger? Jermain Defoe said it best when he described him as playing with the handbrake on, because he looks afraid to make mistakes, afraid to take risks, and afraid to be himself. Fear makes players disappear. £67.5 million made Eberechi Eze Arsenal's third most expensive signing ever, sitting behind only Declan Rice and Nicolas Pépé. One of those transfers worked, while the other is considered one of the biggest flops in Premier League history. And 6 months into his career, Eze is trending dangerously toward the latter. 8 starts in 21 appearances, no goals or assists since November, and getting hooked at halftime in his most recent start. Arsenal fans are losing patience, England's coaching staff is taking notice, and the clock keeps ticking. This stopped being just about Eze a while ago, because now it's about Arsenal's recruitment, and whether the £267 million summer window will be remembered as ambition or desperation. Can he turn it around? Time is a luxury Arsenal might not be willing to afford a £67 million signing who can't get on the pitch. The dream was beautiful, but 6 months later, it's not working. And unless something changes soon, Arsenal's Eberechi Eze problem might become permanent.